Commence primary ignition.
Hey, I'm actor Chris Bartlett from The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you're watching Virtual Cantina Network.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
We're here.
We're here.
I
We're here.
I feel like I have clawed my way. I don't even know. It's gonna be a real interesting show talking tonight. And
Oh my lord. First of all, we'll
I
just start by saying hello, everybody.
Hi.
Daughters of the Galaxy. This will be an emotional episode of Daughters of the Galaxy, and
Yeah.
if you guys are prepared now, we are, as you can tell by our graphic here, we are going to delve into what has gone on thus far in the Acolyte, including last night's episode. So be aware we are talking spoilers in this.
Yeah, we'll remind y'all about some of the spoilers. You know, we kind of made the executive choice in talking with Mark and talking amongst ourselves that it was going to be really, really hard to have this episode without talking about what people are already saying is one of the, if not the best episode of Star Wars television that has ever aired.
Holy fucking shirt balls.
So we kind of made the executive decision literally as we were going live that even though our Facebook community has a 48-hour spoiler sort of ban up, we made the executive decision to say that since we were a live show, that we were going to go ahead and with proper and ample warning, let y'all know that we are absolutely going to talk about yesterday's episode of The Acolyte, because I gotta tell, you know, we've got other announcements we're gonna make first, but us High Republic fans,
if you haven't seen it, because we obviously
will
get into
we're gonna
the important stuff, but we'll let you know when we're about to talk spoilers. So
yeah, we're gonna get to it. But I have to tell you, amongst the High Republic community, we are all of us are beside ourselves right now because you know, we are being taken from like sort of the shadows of the fandom and literally being thrown right into the spotlight as High Republic fans, and we are getting the most unbelievable and unreal live action Star Wars show for something that only existed on the page. So we are beside ourselves, and we are so happy, and it's been totally wild. And also for those of you who are brand spanking new, like this is your very first time experiencing the High Republic, this is what it's like to be a High Republic fan, like these very emotional highs and these incredibly emotional devastating blows. This is exactly what it's like reading the books, so we could not be more happy with how this all is happening. It's
not very nice to your feelings,
unreal
kids. Yes,
unreal. But anyway, before we get to the Acolyte, we got a bunch of stuff to like catch up on and talk about.
It's been a hot minute. So we have the family vacation coming up in 1 month. Less than a month, actually.
1 month?
Less than a month. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's the 26th already, so.
Yeah.
She's coming.
She's coming. So it's really exciting. We've got so many signers, but we just wanted to give a shout out to Hyperspace Props for being our sponsor. You can go to them for all your cosplaying and Sabacc needs. They have credits if you want to get fancy and use those in your Sabacc games. Use code BUNTA for 10% off your order. And I'm telling you, at hyperspaceprops.com, they have amazing stuff. I don't know if you guys remember, but last Halloween, I believe. Yeah, the Halloween before last, I guess. I dressed up as Hera for our Halloween episode, and my 3D printed Hera goggle set was actually from Hyperspace Props. So they do a phenomenal job printing. I was able to like sand and paint and you know, finish these, and they're stellar humans as well, great cosplayers. So definitely check out hyperspaceprops.com. They are a title sponsor for Bunta Eve San Francisco. Yeah. Oh, special edition. Yeah. So make sure you
Yeah,
get out there.
their stuff is nice too because like it's super customizable. Like I actually have some of their sabak chips, I think, some of their
Oh,
credit chips. I
cool.
can't remember, but it's nice because like you can do with it whatever you want. So like you said, you can sand them, you can paint them. They don't have to be, all in color or Canon colors. You can kind of just play with it and have fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Thanks for
I
that
mean,
discount code, Hyperspace Props.
it is amazing. So I know they do still have some Hera flight caps on their site, and how to build her belt and her blaster holders on her boots. So definitely check those out as well. Again, Bunta on their site for 10% off your order.
Yeehaw. Right. So like what other announcements are going on right now? Like my brain is I gotta tell you, I feel like I
It's been a lot going on.
no thoughts head empty. It's just the acolyte 24/7. So like all day today, I went out. We have a friend who's getting ready to move, and so we spent the day with them today. And I felt so bad because like the whole day, and they're a Star Wars fan too, so she's a Star Wars fan. So the whole day today, I was like, I am so distracted. I am so sorry because my brain is just stuck on this 35-minute episode of television I watched last night, and I can't stop thinking about it.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I I apologize that my brain is completely out the window for anything like
Well, we're in the right spot for this, honestly. So
yeah.
it's good. I have to say, I started the episode as you see me here, sitting on the edge of my bed, watching the TV in front of me here. And by the end of the episode, I was on the damn floor with my hands over my mouth, like, not
Yeah.
okay, all alone. Alan wasn't
Yeah.
here. It
And
was
it's
awful.
and I
Awful.
gotta tell you, we've talked a lot about this show about the part of why we have our show, right, is that we wanted to have the perspective of two women experiencing Star Wars, and we are so lucky to live in this timeline now when Star Wars really is for everyone, and
Right.
there's so much incredible representation, and like we are certainly not by any means the only women talking about Star Wars, but there's now more of a um, platform for us, I guess, and
Yeah.
there's more of that conversation around women in Star Wars, and so what I've had to sort of struggle with this show is that the dialogue or in the fandom right now around the acolyte has been so stressful. um I'm being diplomatic with words. That's not the word I wanted to use. But I'm being
No,
diplomatic.
you are
um
being very kind. Yeah.
it's been really really hard to read
Hi,
through
Sherry.
a lot of the comments around the acolyte and to hear so much vitriol, especially towards female characters and female creators and female directors and all this from
Still
people that believe
happening.
that Star Wars is just for them
Episode
or that they
5
are
into the
yeah,
season, and it's still coming up in the comments and
yeah
from
it
people.
totally is.
Yeah.
And so what I think is so vindicating in so many ways is that even though there's this very loud group of talking heads screaming their heads off about this show in a bad way, I can't tell you the number of DMs I've gotten across a couple different platforms being like, "Hey, you read the High Republic, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just a little." And people saying, "Hey, I watched The Acolyte, and I've got some questions about the timeline, and I've got some questions about the books and the comics and the way to kind of go about enjoying this era. Like, can you help me?" And it's so satisfying to see
Yeah.
that this show has inspired more people to visit what, in my opinion, is the most fascinating era of Star Wars. um, so if that's you, or if you have questions, or if you need a jumping off point into the High Republic now that you've experienced the Acolyte and you want to experience more high highs and devastatingly low lows, please hit me up. I will absolutely get you set up on the right foot, and we can go on this adventure together because it's unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable.
a little bit more before we jump into this season or this half season. We're going to do a little more housekeeping. We had the first 3 episodes of the Celebrating Autographs episodes with Mark and Frank and Spencer, and just delving into everyone that's going to be attending the Bunted Eve special editions during the family vacation, both in Hollywood, in Fullerton, California, and in San Francisco. And Mark and Dave break it down nicely to how much it costs to have these actors and these prop builders, these um, amazing behind the scenes people involved in making Star Wars, have them on your cast pieces and what you can have them sign. So it's really fascinating. Make sure you check out those 3 episodes if you're going on the family vacation to see what you can get signed and just help make your family vacation experience more memorable before you go.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad you said something because, like I said, brain leaking out ear.
Yep.
Don't remember announcements.
Totally fine.
Like,
Totally fine.
Under the best of circumstances, I have like a little list next to me. It's like, oh yeah, these are all the things I'm supposed to talk about. And then tonight, I'm just like, hang on a second.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm here to help you through this. We'll get through this.
Not processing. Brain broken.
Yeah. 24 hours. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I guess the only other announcement that I can think of that may be relevant to this show is that Hasbro just announced the Black Series. We're getting the helmet from
The Stranger.
Well, we can't even talk about that's Darth Smiley.
Darth Smiley, or as Spencer was saying, Smilo Ren.
Yeah, it's really
creepy.
It's really a special helmet, honestly. Like it's definitely a unique one, and I don't think I could have that on my shelf looking at me.
Nope.
So I will probably,
Too
even
spooky.
though this is like my whole lifeblood right now, I don't know that I'm going to add that one to my collection.
Now, if I got like Kel Naka's lightsaber or even like, a pip, that'd be great.
I think those are coming. I would be shocked if they weren't coming.
Hella cute.
I mean, I love a droid, a merch bait droid, and Pip, I feel like, is like peak merch bait.
Totally.
And
if I'm hoping he's done right, so he's like a utility thing. Like, he's got a flashlight, he's got an AM/FM radio. I don't know.
Just got a little Swiss Army knife in there.
Yeah.
Just pops out.
Totally,
Bug
it's fine.
spray, which is topical.
Sure.
Yeah. So
no.
It's gonna be nice to see what they do with this merchandise line. I know right now we've talked about this. God, I feel like every show I whine about this, but like we're in such a strange holding pattern for merchandise on Galaxy's Edge right now that like I feel like we would benefit very much from getting some fancy new Acolyte stuff dropped, like some new saber hilts or I don't know, something. The High Republic has so many beautiful artifacts that I'm like, why are we not making these things? Because people want them. I'm people. Me. I am people. I want them. Anyway, I guess I'm just gonna have to build it myself. Okay. So any other announcements? Is there anything I forgot before we jump into this thing and I scream for the next 45 minutes?
I believe we're good. Mark, can you think of anything that we need to do? Sorry, I know he's probably getting his work on. But it's all good. Yeah, he says we're all good. Thank you, my friend. Okay, so no, Spencer, we'll get there. No. So we are, just so you guys know, we are now going to be covering the first 5 episodes of The Acolyte. So if you haven't watched it yet, spoilers from here on out.
Yep. First 5 episodes out of 8. So we are now more than halfway through the run of The Acolyte. We only have 8 episodes. We just finished episode 5. We've got 3 episodes to wrap up an incredible story, and I am shaking in my boots. But I feel like we kind of have to start from the top, right?
Yeah, of course. So we will
just want to pull up one thing here.
Start with episode 1. Yes. Thank you.
Bear with me. I am trying to pull up my notes because, as I've said many times, I was prepared for this show, and then I wasn't prepared for this show.
Threw a wrench at you, a la dodgeball, and it was just completely shattered.
Yeah,
Dave. Jeez.
And you know what's really, as I went on my little soapbox rant about The Acolyte here, one of the things that I've kind of done to protect my mental health around The Acolyte is I've actually tried really, really hard to not spend time on websites like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes or even like the Facebook groups, because honestly, like even right now as I pull up, I'm just trying to pull up the list, the the names of the episodes because I remember what happened, but I like to have the names here in front of me. It's pretty devastating to see that this has been review bombed by a bunch of people with nothing better to
And
do
yet
with their lives.
completely satisfying that they review bombed the wrong thing.
Yeah,
So
and that's actually where I was kind of going with this is that like even right now as I kind of pull this up, it's just super duper frustrating to see that like people are like Star Wars is dead, killing off my dreams of wanting to be a Jedi. Star Wars is too woke. Star Wars this, Star Wars that. And I'm like, okay, let's not do that. So yeah, for my own mental health and to protect my mental health, I have avoided a lot of websites sort of going through the Acolyte just because it's not worth it to see a bunch of
yep,
angry boys and men in their mom's basement complaining about Star Wars. Anyway,
definitely
let's
not.
get started. Season 1, episode 1. Episode is called Lost and Found. And we start off with May, who up until this point, this is the character that we saw on the poster. We knew that May was a character. We didn't really know about Osha.
Yeah, so this starts off in a way that if you had, obviously gone to see the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, you saw that 2-minute um, little preview of the opening scene of the Acolyte where we have May fighting Master and Dara.
And spoiler alert, Master and Dara doesn't win.
My little Matrix loving Carrie Ann Moss fangirl heart just shattered. Absolutely shattered. It's like, is this the way we're going to do this now? Come on.
And it was strange because, for when they started announcing these shows and we knew who the cast was and we knew who, these characters kind of were, they really billed Carrie Ann Moss as a headliner in this show. They really said like she's a big deal, and she bites it in the first 3 minutes of the episode. And we're all like, what? How?
Oh, the words that came out of my mouth, and they were not kid friendly. I felt like Phoebe in Friends when she lost on Miss Pac-Man and didn't get her head.
It was definitely a shocking opening to a brand new show with no real history and no real, like, we didn't really know what to expect from this plot. But what I think was even more jarring than seeing this stranger literally kill a Jedi Master in the middle of a tavern or a cantina was that like almost the next scene right after that was Osha, who up until that point I was like, wait, is this the same person?
Is
like,
she blacking out? Like, we had
yeah, literally. I'm like, is she going on this murder spree because she slept a little bit too hard and went on a sleepwalking Jedi murder spree?
Is like Palpatine controlling her mind like Kylo Ren? Like, what's happening? Like, we need to know this.
In the immortal words of Michael Scott, my brain was going a mile a minute, and it was like, wait a minute, wait, why, how, what, huh? And discovering that they were twins was like, oh, okay, well, we definitely need to know more of what's going on there. Osha, I love Osha for a lot of reasons. I love Osha's sense of humor, but I love that everything about Osha's body language and her mannerisms and her belief set and the way that she behaves is very peak Jedi, in that she kind of always just does good. And we see that in this episode as she's on she gets apprehended. She is falsely believed, or she is believed to have been the murderer of Master and Dara by my boyfriend Yord.
Yord Horde.
Oh
Hashtag
God, I'm
Yord
really
Horde.
sad right now. I'm just going to make it through the episode without crying.
I know.
And she's
Yord Horde
brought off
forever.
to Coruscant to go face the Jedi, and for a crime that she didn't commit. But on the way there, she's aboard this prison ship that kind of goes belly up, kind of goes crazy, and
Okay,
she
by the way,
helps an inmate.
How fucking scary was that little alien thing that kept the prisoner under wraps? Like,
the face hugger,
the
Star Wars face hugger,
Star Wars version of the face hugger. Oh my God, that's a shit of nightmares. I'm telling you.
But okay, but that's also another great point about this show, right? Is that in talking to some other friends about this in a lot of ways is like scary Star Wars. Like, this is like horror Star Wars. Like, there's a lot of really frightening stuff in the Acolyte that we haven't really seen before. And even though like what you're describing, the creature that you're describing is kind of like a blip on the radar, and like we never see that creature again, or we haven't so far. It's a pretty grim way to subdue a criminal.
Yeah, like, oh, I
pretty
keep
rough.
him calm. Let's just stick this on his mouth, like a
Yeah.
make him.
And it's like altering his brain and the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
we know that Osha was affiliated at this point with the Jedi Order. We know that she left the Order. She's all buddy with Yord, who's like, yo, we aren't friends. They're friends. They're still friends. Yord is just
Okay,
like,
yeah. Yord needs to calm down, because
well, he can't do anything now. He's sorry. We'll get there.
We'll get there. He's getting too big for his britches at this point, and I think Yord is an example of the Jedi hubris that everyone keeps talking about, like how they just thought they were able to call the shots on everything. And
He is, but I think it's also important to remember that he's only been a knight for 2 years at that point. Like he was only knighted like 2 years ago, and he has this Padawan who's like now watching him intently. Who it's weird that I guess the one thing I will say, it's kind of weird we never saw his Padawan again. But I have a feeling she'll come back. I think she'll circle back. But
especially now, totally.
yeah. But it's you know, he's like still in a lot of ways kind of cutting his teeth to like demonstrate that like he is worthy of the title of Jedi Knight, and he is worthy to be in the position of being a Padawan's master. I think the obnoxiousness, Sherry, is kind of by design. I think it's that like I want to demonstrate that I'm worthy of being a Jedi. And you know, the Jedi at this point have faced you know, they went from having this very long period of peace where they were effectively in like almost like a Renaissance area in our timeline, to having a galaxy-wide war with the Nile. And you know, we're definitely past that point, and now they're kind of, I feel like, just sort of finding their footing again back on that peaceful plane. Oh, this is so awkward. I'm gonna have to defend Yord with my life. I feel it already. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Jecki is definitely Yord's.
I love Jecki.
Yeah, Jecki is definitely Yord's sort of like the little thorn, like the little sister thorn in his side, and I love that relationship.
They have an Anakin Ahsoka relationship at first, because
kind of
very early, because he's just like, okay, Jecki's gonna call him out on his BS.
And the Yord put your clothes on line.
Yord, put your clothes on.
I just Yord, put your clothes on.
Steam in your robes, buddy. Steam in your robes.
I think Yord is a character who just really wants to uphold who the Jedi are and what the Jedi are.
He's totally all in on the whole like Jedi psychology,
for better or worse.
Yeah. And
you know, I think I like to imagine characters like that, and again, this is my brain just sort of running off, right? But like, you know, Yord was probably the Jecki like Padawan at one point, right? Where he would get his little barbs in, he would get his little jokes in or whatever.
Which is why he and Osha, like when they first reconnect, Osha's like, "Oh hey, Yord," and he's
exactly.
He's like, "I'm a knight now."
Yeah, exactly.
Like when your friend from school you spend a summer apart, and they come back, and he's just hit the cool crowd, and he's just like, "Excuse me, do I know you?"
And you're like, "I went to sleepaway camp, and now this other person's like driving a cool car," and you're like, "Oh, okay." Like we're on two different levels here. But yeah, you know, and I think that's a really good point. Is that Osha kind of brings out this like, hey, remember when you were cool and now you're not? Like now you're not.
He's like, "I'm a different kind of cool."
He is, and you know the dynamic again between him and Jecki, and then even between like him and Master Soul. Like I think about a character like Master Soul, who we start to see in episode we meet obviously in episode 1. Master Soul is very much this revered, wise, patient Jedi, and I think that Yord is kind of finding his way towards that. Yeah. You know, I think that's what like a Master Soul is, what he aspires to be,
right?
And he just hasn't found his way there yet.
I have to give total shout out to Lee Jung Jae, Korean superstar, star of Squid Game, which everybody knows is a phenomenal series. This is his first, not only American role, like a role outside of Korea, but this is his first English speaking role ever. So he learned his lines for this movie and learned how to speak English in 4 months.
This man
Hella
has broken
awesome.
my heart at every turn. Like Master Soul,
Phenomenal.
his presentation of Master Soul has broken my heart at every
Yeah.
single turn. Like he is so talented. And I think he we talk about how like Yord aspires to be like the penultimate Jedi, and I think Master Soul is really that. And I think it only becomes more upsetting the further we get through the show to learn that Master Soul has some secrets that he's not proud of. We're kind of
And
building
they're
towards that.
almost there. We still don't know, but we get little hints of
Yeah,
it.
we're sort of
So
building towards that. So
yeah.
it's hard because this show is showing us a very in a lot of ways like human side of the Jedi, right? Like we're seeing Master Soul be incredibly vulnerable. We're seeing Master Soul be a character who does have attachments, who does have connections, who does feel love, and does feel regret, and can't necessarily move past the things that he's
Yeah.
done in the way that the Jedi would normally say, like, well, you gotta, get over it and move on. He doesn't do that. And I think that's an incredibly important thing to see in the Jedi.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
something like usually it's just let all attachments go, blah 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 blah. But he still has a lot of love for Osha, his former Padawan. He's obviously got love for Jackie, his current Padawan, and the need to correct this wrong that seems to have been done is just it's totally not the Jedi way,
it's
as we
not,
know.
and it's the other big interesting foil to see here. And I know, like, this episode was, episode one, as it would be with any show, right, is all about establishing who these characters are and the tone of the show and where we're going with it.
Right.
So the other incredibly interesting parallel to see, especially as somebody who is so deeply entrenched in these books, was the maturing of Vernestra Rowe, who we talked about on a show.
Yes.
But Vernestra has become this, she's 116, 115 years old at this point, and she's become this incredibly revered master who is playing such a unique game of politics right now. And she's playing a lot of, how are the Jedi going to interact with the Republic? How is the Republic going to interact with the Jedi? How do people see the Jedi? How are we going to respond in such a way that preserves the overall image of the Jedi Order? Which is phenomenal to see, because that's exactly what her master Stellan Gios did during the era of the High Republic. During his era of the
She's
High
become
Republic.
the PR person. Like what
Just what Stellan Gios was.
Yes, like what looks good optics wise for the galaxy when it comes to how the Jedi are handling things. And I honestly like I wasn't this was like I've gotten a few issues of the comics, the High Republic comics, so I haven't really like other than our show that we delved into Vernestra, and I did some reading up on that. Before this started, I didn't really get into Vernestra, but now I think she's a phenomenal character, and I'm growing to like her so much more, seeing the older version of her and just taking on everything that she learned from her master and still being like diplomatic but strong in the Jedi.
We're starting to see, as phase 3 kind of continues with the books, we're starting to see Vernestra, I don't want to say struggle with her place in the Jedi Order, but start to question a lot of what's working for the Jedi and what's not working for the Jedi, and using forms of, because they're in the midst of a very aggressive war at this point in the books, but starting to see her use sort of atypical means to accomplish her goals as a Jedi. And we're also starting to see her call out a lot of very un-Jedi-like behavior in the books. So to see her go from a 15-year-old freshly minted knight in her first appearance of the books to, 115-year-old master who is carrying the weight of the sort of Jedi PR department on her shoulders, but also
Yeah.
still dedicated to the Order, has been wild. Like, it's been wild. And I am dying to know what happened in the, roughly 100 years between where we are in the books to where we are in the Acolyte. But what I love about her relationship with Soul is that she, because of her age, like, she saw Soul as a child. So, she has seen this man kind of grow up and become this incredible Jedi. the Jedi PR department is an incredibly tough gig. And
Yes.
that's also something that comes up in the books, is that, they never really had to play the PR game when everything was going great in the Republic. And they ended up, I kid you not, in um, Rising Storm? I believe it was the Rising Storm. They start to realize that they need a Jedi PR person, and that's where her master Stellan Gios really steps in and ends up basically becoming like the media Jedi, like the Jedi that they put in front of all of the hollows, and the Jedi that they put up there with the Chancellor, and the Jedi that, fields all the questions. And you start to see that take a pretty devastating toll on him. And I just worry about Vernestra, the same thing happening to her.
Yeah.
I love Stellan.
So
I miss him.
we learn in these episodes, these first 2 episodes, that May is on a mission.
Mhm.
She has to kill 4 Jedi Masters, preferably without a weapon.
Mhm.
And they are Master Indara, which we obviously see in the first 3 minutes.
Yep, she gets stabbed, which is pretty brutal as a Jedi.
With a
Being
knife,
stabbed.
a tiny little
Yeah.
throwy knife. Girl.
But it's important to note that she gets stabbed trying to protect a civilian.
Yes. And
So she dies literally as a Jedi. Like, she's just trying to protect a civilian.
Yeah. And Master Torben, she ends up going and finding Master Torben. He hasn't spoken a word. He's in a force field in years, 10 years. He's got a nasty scar over his left eye. We don't know how it got there. He's played by Dean Charles Chapman, who played, I think it's Tommen Lannister / Baratheon in Game of Thrones. Lannister / Baratheon.
I don't remember anything that happened in Game of Thrones. I feel like that show was a fever dream.
So it was Joffrey, the daughter. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the daughter's name. And then it was Tommen, the youngest son. And he was Tommen, who was supposed to marry Marjorie and jumped out the window.
Literally. Oh yeah, that part I remember. Yeah, I remember the
So-
jumping out a window. I don't remember anything else.
So he played Tommen, but it was nice to see him back, even though that beard was questionable. But we've definitely seen that he's aged some. Thankfully, he doesn't really look that bad.
So we need to talk about Master Torben for a second. So Master Torben has taken what's called the Barash Vow. And the Barash Vow comes up for the first time. It was created by Charles Soule in The Blade, which is a mini-series that takes place in Phase 2 of the High Republic. Literally comes straight from the comic books.
All the High Republic fans lost their shit when this happened.
We did. All of us did. The minute she said, you took the Barash Vow, I felt a whole body chill. Like, I literally oh, there it is. It's happening. The Barash Vow is... It's basically the ultimate form of atonement for a Jedi. When a Jedi has done something so terrible that they start to feel it affect their connection to the Force, and they start to feel like they are losing their connection to the Force, and start to feel that they have lost the way of the light, they have lost sort of their calling as a Jedi, they go into the Barash Vow, or they have the option to take the Barash Vow, which basically isolates them and allows them to contemplate, to atone, to figure out where and how their connection back to the Force is going to be. So what this has told us is that whatever Master Torben has done, whatever he has seen, whatever he has endured, whatever he had a hand in doing was so bad that he has to undertake the Jedi's ultimate form of atonement. That's what the Barash Vow is. So for him to not only undertake this vow, but then to face May face to face, nose to nose, and have him say, I've been waiting for you, and then to opt into assisted suicide.
Drinking poison.
Drinking poison.
Given to her by her street rat looking buddy, Kymir.
Yeah. But for him to get to that point where he is opting to take the poison as opposed to finishing out his Barash Vow is telling us a couple of big things. One, the Barash Vow isn't working for him. Whatever he did was bad enough that the Barash Vow didn't work for him.
Right.
And two, that he wanted or felt that his sins, his Jedi sins, could only be atoned by one person, and that person is May. So figuring out what this man's connection is to May, what he did to May, especially
and why they're being chosen to die is huge.
That's a huge clue that something more than what we're seeing has happened to May. So we kind of saw a little bit, like, Indara didn't necessarily know who May was. Torben did.
She did as soon as like she moved her bangs and she saw the
Yeah, she saw
spiral.
the
She goes, "You."
mark. I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. But we really saw that moment of true connection and that moment of true, like, oh shit, with Torben.
Mhm.
And that brings us to episode 3. So Master Torben, well, I guess we should probably also talk about that fact that now Osha is actually going to, in episode 2, she's going to be able to kind of come face to face with May. Like she knows that May is
So,
out there.
yes.
Go ahead.
They've met face to face. She has seen each other. They both realize that the other one is alive. They didn't die on their planet.
Mhm.
And Osha goes to stun her, and she just, for some reason, obviously because she's in shock, she can't stun her sister, and her sister is able to get away. But again, we definitely getting more clues that something big happened, and both are led to believe that the other one is gone.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And we also see Osha struggle with the fact that she's literally given the opportunity to take out her sister and she can't do it.
She can't do it.
So, you know, she's had this Jedi training to say, hey, you know, I need to do what's right. I can't take a life without being, you know, sort of in a life-threatening situation. And it's also her sister, so she has that attachment. She can't take out her sister.
I thought the most interesting part was when she comes face to face, when Osha comes face to face with Chimere, and Chimere knows who she is. Like, you look just like her. And it's chilling because he gets right into her face and he's like, you look just like her. And it's not the goofy, like, street rat guy anymore. There's something like clicks in his brain and is like, whoa, wait a minute.
Was when I say that was a red flag. That was my first red flag with this guy.
I'm like the guy on like
going on
Instagram
here.
running across the field with a red flag.
Yeah.
Like,
don't like this guy. Don't like this guy. And you know, he's also kind of really cagey with May about like the whole, like, oh yeah, your master. Like, yeah, we wouldn't want to disappoint your master. Like, are you sure that your master is really gonna be like, he's really cagey and kind of like weird with May, even though they're supposed to kind of be like compatriots, like they're supposed to be kind of like associates.
Yeah.
But like he's just weird. It's the whole he definitely gives a vibe that I was like, oh, I don't like this guy. Because he kind of like his mannerisms, like he kind of,
and also he threw together that poison awful
real quick.
Like,
he kind of gives the vibe of this like strung out junkie.
Yeah.
The first time I saw him, I'm just like, this guy's like on something. But then
that's why I said
the more yeah. But like the more he started to talk, I was like, oh, he's in on something. He's doing something, and I don't think it's good. And it's funny too, because like he's almost apprehended. Like he is literally almost apprehended, and he kind of like does the whole like, I'm so charming and quirky, I'm gonna get out of this with the Jedi. And I can't imagine like the show would have been over if the Jedi had just taken him in right
I know, right? End of story. But the thing that like bugs me the most about this is May is doing whatever she can to bring Osha is doing whatever she can to bring May to justice at this point, even putting herself into a potentially dangerous situation that could cost her her life, not knowing who Chimere is or anything like that. But we don't know what May is involved in, and we don't know the bigger picture yet. And it's just Osha's willingness to, okay, my sister needs to be stopped before more Jedi die. If Soul is on the list, we have to save Cal Naka. We have to protect the final two because so much damage has already been done. And it not only have they cleared Osha from any wrongdoing at this point, because obviously they find out May is still alive, but it's brought May's understanding of okay, my sister's still alive. The Jedi deserve to be punished because they took my sister away from me. It kind of like refocuses her a little bit more to be more concerned, like, well, okay, my sister's been alive this whole time, and the Jedi have kept her from me, and I thought she was dead.
You start to see a lot more of that as we progress into episode 3, for sure. Because there's definitely a lot of very like just because they're twins, they literally couldn't be more different in a lot of ways. They're very similar in a lot of ways, but they could not be more different in key fundamental ways. Episode 3 is called Destiny, and that episode sang to me in so many different ways. Episode 3 is a flashback. So for all of us who were upset with the very beginning of episode 1, where we saw Carrie Ann Moss bite it, we're like, hey, she's back.
Yes.
So we visit May and Osha's childhood to kind of learn more about how they were brought up and what
On Brendock.
happened to get them
Yeah.
separated on Brendock. Yes. They are the only two children in a coven of force-sensitive witches, which for everybody who's like deeply angry about that, I would like to point out the Night Sisters. I would like to point out Dathomir. I would like to point out any of the other Force cults that have existed, calling the Force different things, because this is not a new concept in Star Wars.
No.
So they are the only two children in a coven of Force-sensitive witches, of which their mothers are the two sort of elders. They're the two leaders of this group, and they are effectively. They have been sort of ostracized from whatever group that they were a part of. They have been set up on this, or they have chosen to set themselves up on this brand new planet in this brand new compound. They are away from wherever they splintered off from. And that is a huge... The High Republic fans right now are losing their minds over what the potential connections could be. So we have Mother Anastasia and Mother Coral, who and are
Mother
the
Coral
two...
is a Zabrak.
Yes. She's a Zabrak, and Mother Anastasia is a human. It is, I'm not even going to say heavily implied. It's basically said that the twins were, much like Anakin Skywalker, they have no father. So they were conceived of the Force. And they have appropriately Force sensitive, capabilities, but so do many of the other women in this coven.
Yes.
And you see that because they're all kind of practicing, and they're all, very, they're blocking and they're defending. They call their interpretation of the Force the thread. So they're pulling on the thread. And but a couple of things.
It's a nice. I do really like the interpretation of it, calling it the thread, because it's the Force is what binds us all together. It is in every living thing. Same thing with threads. It's the threads that bind us together.
Yeah, and there were a couple of big question marks I had in this episode, things that I think were very intentional that I'm waiting to see the resolution of. We know that they have been given the boot from wherever they came from. There's a scene where Mother Anastasia is getting the girls kind of prepared for this big ceremony that's going to happen, this ascension ceremony that's going to happen. And the girls are having a hard time focusing. They're bickering, they're fighting. Osha is starting to feel like, oh, I really don't want to do this. And May is like, this is my destiny. Like, this is what I want to be a witch. I'm so excited. Yeah. And they're butting heads over like what each of them wants, because May just wants to be with her sister. She wants to do this with her sister. And Osha's like, I really don't feel good about this. Like, this is not what I want. I want to explore the galaxy. I don't want to be stuck on this, in this commune, this group of women. Right. But there's a scene that's very intentional, and there's a line that's really intentional that I have not stopped thinking about since this aired. The girls are bickering. Mother Anastasia is trying to get them to focus on blocking. And all of a sudden there's a sound in like sort of the next room over. And Mother Anastasia looks to Mother Coral, and Mother Coral stands up and she leaves the room, and she goes to this next room over, this big sort of antechamber that has something big hanging from the ceiling. And it almost looks like some sort of like a generator or an engine or something that looks really important to them, because it's protected. It's made a sound that everybody's kind of nervous about. Like, the body language is like, go check on that. That's important. And she goes and she checks on it, determines that nothing has really gone wrong with it, and then comes back. The episode progresses. The girls ultimately begin this ascension ceremony. May passes her ascends. Osha hesitates and hems and haws, and all of a sudden the whole ceremony is interrupted by 4 Jedi coming in. I've got some questions about this. So the Jedi have breached their wall, like they've breached their technology and they've come in, but there's also a lot of question about like Brendok is supposed to be isolated, like nobody else is supposed to be on Brendok. So how did the Jedi really find this? Were they following Force sensitive children? Did they have insider information? Was there a reason, something that brought them to Brendok? That was my first question. My second question I'm going to come back to because it kind of comes back to that technology that we were talking about before. Indara introduces everybody, says, "Hey, here we are. We're Jedi. We, we've heard that there are Force sensitive children here. We've heard that there are children here." She doesn't say Force sensitive. She said, we hear you're training children. My favorite line so far in everything that has come up. They say, one of the other witches says, "They're trying to take our children." And the Jedi respond with, "The Jedi don't take children." And I think to myself, but you do.
But
You do, Jedi. But ultimately, it kind of becomes clear that they're there to collect these two Force-sensitive children. And, they tried to hide the kids. And Mother Coral's really upset. And, Mother Anastasia is... It's strange to me because she doesn't really fight back, with the exception of, because the Jedi have interrupted this big ceremony, she kind of comes back at Padawan Torben and like puts Torben under this moment of possession. His eyes go black, he's possessed. And it's almost like an eye for an eye moment where it's like, well, you're trying to come for our children, now I'm going to attack one of yours. Mm-hmm. And Torben feels very like it. He's obviously super affected by this. But ultimately they agree. They say, we just want to test these children. We just sort of want to know what's going on with these kids. If, we're not going to force y'all into anything. Mother Anastasia agrees that they can go be tested. Osha's very excited because this is what she wants. She wants to explore the galaxy. And, she's given this opportunity to test and is basically told, fail the test, lie about anything they ask you. Don't do this, just fail. And she can't get herself to do it. And that fight, that creates this big fight with May. May feels incredibly betrayed that her sister would opt to leave her and leave her family to go be a Jedi instead of holding to their truth, their destiny, which is to become, the next leaders of this coven. And I promise I'm coming back to my point with this hanging technology here, but May gets very jealous. May gets very upset. May basically tries to kill Osha. She said, if you're not going to stay here, I'm going to kill you.
Lights her Jedi sketchbook on fire, Osha's Jedi sketchbook on fire, and just burns the whole place down.
The whole compound burns down. But there's a very symptomatic moment where as the compound is burning and the two girls are trying to get out, Osha's on one side of a bridge and May is on the other side of the bridge, and the bridge caves in. It separates the two of them, which is obviously, I think a lot of people are like, well, yeah, it's, it's the fracturing of the relationship between these two twins. But if you look directly behind them, the thing that rattles and shakes and ultimately explodes is that same technology that Mother Coral was so upset about. It was whatever technology, whatever was hanging from the ceiling, whether it was a generator, an engine, whatever, it explodes and ultimately, caves in. May is seen falling to her death. And Osha's sort of about to fall right behind her, and Master Soul is the one that saves her.
And he can only save one. It's heartbreaking for him because if ideally he was there to save both girls.
It's the what I'm dying to know, because this whole episode smacks of phase 2 of the High Republic with the Path of the Open Hand and the cults that we see on Jedha and the Path of the Open Hand in phase 2. I am dying to know, and I've been running this through all my High Republic fans, if the technology that they were so protecting is a path drive. The path drives were the drives used by the Nihil to allow them to basically jump hyperspace points. And I'm dying to know if that's the technology that they used to get away from whatever they splintered from. because everything about their symbols, their emblems, their face paint,
Yeah.
everything about this smacks of the open hand. And during that ascension ceremony, the women that make the path up the ascension ceremony do the path of the open hand. A very similar gesture to the path of the open
That's
hand.
so cool. So
I don't know. This is speculation. That's the way my squirrely brain kind of approaches this. But there's something going on
tuck
with
that
that
away
technology.
in the memory bank because not everything is what it seems. So we're gonna move on to episode 4 because we don't have too much time left, and there's a lot we still have to get through. Yes,
We can get through episode
4.
4 pretty quick though.
Yeah, episode 4. They arrive on. I'm honestly blanking on the planet name, but they arrive trying to find Master Kalnaka. He's gone into hiding. They learn from the locals that he just walked into the woods one day and just didn't come out.
They're on Kofar, by the way. It's Kofar.
Kofar. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And so the locals have told them that he disappeared into the woods and never came out. He's living in seclusion in this busted up looking bit of machinery and just, tinkering with his speeder and just living his best life. I think just in isolation.
He's doing what Master Torben was doing. I think he's trying to sort
Yeah.
of recenter himself and to whatever. He didn't necessarily
Forget
need to.
what happened.
Yeah, it didn't necessarily feel like he needed to undertake the Barash vow, but you could tell that he's definitely
It's
secluded
affected him.
for a reason. It's
Yeah.
intentional. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we get May arriving as well
Whoop.
with Chimere, and they're both looking for Master Kalnaka so she can kill him without a weapon. And the annoying part about like Chimere, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna kill him without a weapon because that's what the master wants. That's what the master wants," and he's just super annoying through the whole time. That they gotta get there before dark. Things that live in the woods are scary. And it becomes a race between the Jedi and Osha and May and Chimere to find Kalnaka. And where does it end up, Jamie?
Poorly. That's where it ends up.
That's where it ends up.
Ends up badly. A couple of things that really stood out to me in this episode. I love that May had that moment of like, I don't think I want to do this. Like, I don't think I have to do this. I'm not going to do this. And Kyner's like, yeah, you are. He's like, I'm going to go get you some water. We're going to rethink this a little bit. Like, you're going to be fine. Like, we'll get your strength up. You're going to do this. And I'm like, oh, there's something going on with this dude.
Well, yeah, he's a little too pushy about this. Sherry says Kalnaka seems obsessed with all the symbols from the witches since they are all over his walls. So you May gets a look around the walls.
Yep, we see it come back. We see the all of the symbolism come back. So like we can kind of infer that whatever is going on, like Kalnaka is either stuck on it to the point where it's almost like the man in the padded cell that like draws the line on the wall every time a day has gone by in his seclusion, or studying it. He's trying to study and to learn more about it and to kind of figure out, more of their mystery. I think you can kind of take it either way at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's haunting. Like you definitely like this is a character who's like gone through some stuff, right? And we see Wookiees as these incredibly powerful, very strong, nothing is going to get past a Wookiee, right? Because up until this point, our experience with Wookiees has been Chewbacca and has been Black Chrysanthemum, right? Like we don't see a ton of other Wookiees really, except for those. The High Republic has given us and Gunji. The High Republic has given us 2 Jedi Wookiees who are incredibly empathetic, and I think that's a big thing with Kalnaka as well.
Yeah.
They do find Kalnaka. The Jedi find Kalnaka, and they assume based on their tracker. I can't believe we haven't talked about their tracker and that incredible scene with like when they're getting debriefed by Yord, and she's like, "What's a Basil?" And Jackie's like, "He's a Basil. It's his name." It's just like that whole little opening scene during the debrief was so cute. Anyway, they end up finding May in Kalnaka's hut, and they have assumed at this point that May has infiltrated and killed Kalnaka, when in reality the episode ends with May saying he's here. And so
she finds Kalnaka dead in his chair when she goes to kill him.
John, hold
He's
that
already got-
thought.
He's already dead. He's got lightsaber
Yeah.
slashes across his chest. He is not moving. And I have to personal feeling here. I wanted to see a Jedi Wookiee kick some ass with a lightsaber.
I think you're going to. I do. John, hold that thought because I'm gonna come to that in a second.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I didn't look at the preview. I've been avoiding the previews. I just go in fresh every episode. So thank you, John.
We see what is hands down the scariest. I'm telling you, I think this is the scariest moment in Star Wars, where
Mm-hmm.
it's the scene behind Osha, where the scene is so dark, but you start to see this character kind of. He's not even walking. It looks like he's floating.
He's just there. It's
Yeah.
like straight out of Insidious or something. He's just like,
and he gets
scary.
closer and closer and closer and closer until he's literally right up there with Osha's, like nose to nose, right? And you hear
that
Yord.
mask.
Yeah, and you can only kind of see it like glowing, just the teeth, right? Or like that line up the side of the mask. And you hear Yord and the other Jedi scream, stand down, and then you see that red blade come up. And then, you know, the Jedi all ignite their blades and he does one of these. And Osha goes flying, and that's where the episode ends. And all of us are like, what just happened? This is the scariest thing I have seen in Star Wars. And unfortunately, that's the beginning of the nightmare.
Yeah, there was like, okay, so the build up, the hunt for Kalnaka to get the hope to get to him before May does and before May can kill him. And then this being comes out of nowhere, and it's just like, yeah, Sherry says it reminded me of a Dementor when it was floating behind Osha. Oh, totally.
It was wild. And at that point, so like the theories ran wild after that episode. And I was okay. So we are about to talk about episode 5. If you have not seen episode 5, this is going to be rife with spoilers. We don't have a ton of time left in this episode, but we have to talk about episode 5.
Yes.
So at this point, this is your warning. If you have not watched episode 5, thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you in 2 weeks. If you have watched episode 5, stick around. We're going to scream about it. So once again, we are going to talk about episode 5 of The Acolyte. It aired yesterday. This is your countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Episode 5 opens with the most insane lightsaber battle I have seen in any Star Wars, hands down.
Yeah.
Unreal. And with episode 5, I told myself, I said, the unnamed Jedi, the Jedi that we didn't see, the Jedi that don't have a name, they're all going to die.
Yeah.
They do.
At this point, it's
literally
like Gotham City Police Department.
Yeah, they're dead. And you know, the fight is happening in the woods. And the lighting is so incredible because, like, you don't necessarily see the fights, but you start to see the lightsaber colors and, like, you just start to see them fall. You see this red blade just absolutely decimating these Jedi. And at that point, I said to myself, okay, well, you know,
the track.
we definitely got through the first 3 episodes and the first 3 minutes and they definitely just killed all those Jedi. So what are we going to get for the last half hour?
Oh my God.
We see a couple of things happen literally all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie has taken it upon herself to go get May. May is still in the hut, and she's like, I'm going to go apprehend May. I'm going to get May. I'm going to bring her to justice. It's going to be great. And sis tries. I mean, she holds her own with May. She got her like one binder.
That was really cool. Like, she was completely like, they could have been handcuffed to each other at any time or anything, and it's just the movement, the fight choreography between the two of them is flawless. I loved it so much.
Unreal. And you know, at this point, May has kind of swiped Kalnaka's lightsaber, so like, oh my God, everything happened so fast. My brain is like,
I know, still processing,
computing. And that whole arrest scene was just unreal because Jackie is like, she's a Padawan, she's a child, and she is like,
even like lightsaber battling. It's like flipping and fighting and just moving yourself around from the binders. It's
at the same time that Jackie is trying to apprehend May, Soul has taken off to go take on this red blade. He is like, I'm gonna go take care of this. Hi Joseph, I'm gonna time out for 1 second. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are just now joining us, we are talking about episode 5 of The Acolyte, which aired yesterday. So if you have not seen that episode, please consider this your warning. We don't want to spoil anything. We are happy to see you. I just don't want to ruin your night. So You've been warned.
Heads up.
Heads up. Um, Soul gives the order for Yord, who at this point is like straight up struggle busing because like homeboy got his like thigh. It looked like his like thigh or like his upper leg kind of
Yeah, he got
hit.
slashed across the upper thigh with. Oh, good. Okay, thanks,
Good.
Joseph. Thanks for letting us know. But
So
yeah,
like
he got really badly burned, and because getting stabbed with a lightsaber is cauterizing. But
yeah, it's weird that it
so
also
he's
it hurts. Yeah, so he's poor guy is like struggling, right? Got lightsabered. Soul gives him the order to take the civilian back to the ship. Of course, the civilian is Osha, and Osha's like, "Hang on now, like I can't just let this go without trying to help." And Yord is basically like, "Nope, we're going."
yeah.
So they're sneaking off through the woods. Meanwhile, Red Blade has gotten in Soul's face, hasn't taken him out yet, but he basically kind of like making fun of him.
Yeah.
And Soul calls him out and he's like, "Why are you wearing this mask? Why does your apprentice not know your face?" And he kind of says something. He's like, "Well, does your apprentice know yours?" It's a line sort of along those lines. He's like, "Well, has your apprentice seen your face? Does your apprentice know who you are?" And at this point, I'm like, "Oh, Soul did something. Soul
Yeah.
did something." And whoever this is knows
The
this.
fact that they're all four of them are so deeply guilt-ridden about what has
Yes.
happened. It's like, okay, so this fight between obviously Smilo Ren and Soul had me so stressed out because
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we've already lost the first three masters, and
Yep.
Soul is the last one standing. It's too early in the season for this bullshit.
And Soul also promises Osha that he's going to explain everything back on the ship. He's going to explain everything. And the fact that that kept getting repeated, I'm like, he's going to die. Like, he's going to die.
Yeah.
He's
Oh
not
my
gonna get
god,
to
we
explain
know how this
anything.
goes. We do.
He's not going
We
to get to explain
know.
anything.
Oh,
And
so
so
stressful.
the shit starts to hit the fan, like, and the cutting of scenes back to back to back was so wild. Like, I don't even remember what happened first because I have not had the mental capacity to watch this episode a second time yet. I really need to.
Emotional recovery first, man. Oh my god.
Yes. So Osha convinces, I can't even talk, Yord,
Yeah.
that they need to get back to the fight. And she basically sees that there are all these creatures sort of in the canopy of the woods and that they react to light. So she tells George that turn off your lightsaber and go slowly. So she kind of has like this
I think they're
idea
called what?
brewing.
The Umber Moths?
Umber moths, yeah.
Yeah.
So she kind of makes her way back towards the fight. She sees everything that's happening. Meanwhile, Jecki is still trying aggressively to get May into custody. Meanwhile, Red Blade has kind of re-entered where all of this fighting has happened, and this is where shit just gets absolutely devastating.
Not okay, kids.
So, Jecki at this point has her lightsaber. She has Kelnaka's lightsaber, and she realizes I can use two lightsabers. So she starts fighting the Red Blade with two lightsabers. And it's the most incredible thing I think I've seen a Padawan do in so long. She is just holding her own against this guy until she's not. And let me tell you, friends, I never, ever want to see a Padawan with 3 exit wounds ever again. Watching Jecki
Absolutely horrible.
fall was, I think, one of probably in the top 3 worst Star Wars moments I've ever seen. The others aren't also in the High Republic. So, like, I'm used to suffering as a High Republic fan. That was a brutal death. And it's made even more brutal when everybody reacts and starts screaming Jecki. And Soul says, "You killed Jecki." And the Red Blade says, "Was that its name?" Calls Jecki an it. And I was like,
Ugh.
not this guy. But then it gets better because, like, he's just determined to start killing everybody.
Okay, I have to say,
Go ahead.
the
like,
the fact that he turned off and turned on his lightsaber 3 times is against
we
Jedi
didn't talk
code.
about this.
It is against lightsaber code. You are not supposed to turn your lightsaber off and turn it back on to do that. Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens, right through the side of the Praetorian Guard, is the only other time I've seen this happen. Honestly,
we also didn't talk about a super important thing with the lightsabers.
So I'm getting there.
Okay.
It is a metal called cortosis, which is what the Stranger's gauntlets and his
Yes.
helmet is made of, and it
Yes.
causes lightsabers to short circuit
Yes.
temporarily when it is struck by them. So it is a crazy metal that stops lightsaber blades from working. It makes them
This was
malfunction.
not created for the High Republic.
This is Legends lore that
and
has
it
been
reappears in
brought back
canon. It
in
appears
Dr.
in
Aphra.
Dr. Aphra and Thrawn alliances.
Yes.
So
So
this
if you're
is
looking for that in the comics, check out those and the
Mhm.
books. Legends as well. Crazy. Absolutely crazy to see this come back up.
Wild. Totally wild. Those lightsabers started flickering and all the Jedi looked concerned. I was like, oh, this is not good.
I'm like, oh my
This is
god,
not
it's
good.
Cortozan.
This is not good. So they're all struggling. Jecki has fallen. Yord is emotionally devastated again because now he's lost 2 Padawans. 2 Padawans. This poor guy, like, he can't get ahead.
No.
Osha has come up with this plan to bring the Umber Moths to the Red Blade, using Pip's head. And another devastating moment when she says, "I love you, Pip. Thank you." And she turns Pip's flashlight on, like flashlight, whatever it is,
Little
and like
flash cube.
jams it into the Red Blade's back.
Because he
Oh my
has
god,
like a
I can't even
cross.
remember the timing. Yeah.
Yeah, he has the cross thing across the back of his thing, and she just hooks him to Pip, and
I gotta tell you, the Umber Moths carrying him away was actually a funny moment. And I think it was like stress laughing where I was so stressed out by everything happening. I was like,
I was like, yeah, this guy's gonna, and everything's gonna be okay now.
I was so stressed.
Yeah.
It's like, there he goes, just ascending into the air.
Yeah, it just
Was that before or after he killed Yord? My god, this is all such a weird fever dream.
oh my god. Yeah, it had to be
It had to have been after, right?
after, yeah. 'cause
Yeah, it had to have been
he was
after
still up.
because he
Okay,
snaps Yord's neck.
Yord is severely injured. His lightsaber is dead because it has malfunctioned, and the guy just completely destroyed it
snaps
on
his
him,
neck.
and just like our
It was
boy, the Yord Horde cries out in one.
we
It's
we
like,
cry out as one, but also I think it was such a peak High Republic moment. And Justina Ireland this morning actually posted on her Instagram. She basically said, "It's the High Republic. Rule number 1, don't get too attached." Because the High
how
Republic has
dare
no issue killing off main characters, beloved characters. They have no issue doing that if it serves the story. So these
Ugh.
are going to serve the story.
Hashtag the Yord Horde remembers.
The last big important thing that happens in all this carnage and all this devastation. Well,
Now
2 big
keep in
things.
mind, guys, we've lost Kelnaka in this episode. We've lost
No,
Jecki in
Kelnaka was
this
the episode
episode.
before. Yep.
Well, just gathering it
15.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, they find
Kofar.
out that Kelnaka is dead and May didn't do it.
Yep.
Like, they've lost Jecki, they've lost Yord, they've lost these other countless Jedis. Like, Soul is literally the last man standing.
It's Soul, but there's 2 other big things that are setting up these next episodes for us. 1, Red Blade removes his helmet, and we know that now it's Chimera, which we all kind of saw coming. Like, I think we all kind of saw that coming.
Darth Biceps, as they're calling him on the interwebs.
He is so terrifying. Like, he is just so cold and he's like a monster. Like, he literally presents himself as a monster. He does the head cocking thing where he kind of just stares.
I hate nothing.
The close-ups on his face
when he's all bloody and he's all dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
See the crazy in his face, like his helmet is destroyed.
He says now, he basically introduces himself as a Sith. He's like, "Hey, I'm a Sith. You may have heard of us," and he kind of like jokes about it. And he basically says, "I want to live my life wielding the power that I have and not living underneath the rule of the Jedi. And now that a Jedi has seen my face and I've been exposed, I must kill every Jedi. Now that y'all know who I am, I have to kill all of you." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. That's gonna go great. Love that for us." The same time that all this is happening with Soul, well, I guess this was a little bit after. Again, the timeline on this is so wacky because my brain was in full on like self-defense mode because I was like freaking out.
Stressed the F out.
Osha and May end up having their little reunion on Kofar. And, I think May wants it to go one way, and Osha's like, hi, you're a criminal.
You killed
Ends up,
Jedi. You have to be brought to justice.
May ends up taking Osha down, switching clothes with her, doing the dramatic lightsaber haircut, presents herself as Osha, reconnects with Soul, and leaves Kofar with Soul. So Osha is still stuck on Kofar.
And nobody knows where Basil is at this point. We finally see Basil again, and he
gonna save the day.
He finds that piece of Pip that is just thrown on the ground and discarded.
Parent Trap realness.
Yeah. Oh my God. Totally. Right, Mark? Yeah, it's so Basil manages to rescue Pip, to hopefully get him back and get him fixed up. But this is bad. This is bad news.
This is
And
bad.
we see Basil getting back to the ship. So hopefully Basil, knowing that what May smells like, having had to track her, tip her off.
Yeah, and our Red Blade also, yes, that's true. Oh my God, like I said, this is like such a fever dream. Like everything, I'm so stressed.
I can't believe this. It's stressful.
The Red Blade, yeah, I would agree. It looks like he's about to say, "Hey, it looks like I got a new acolyte right here. I'm just gonna take this one instead."
He said
It's
he
fine.
needs one. He's like,
Needs one.
I need an acolyte.
So we are getting ready to go into these last 3 episodes.
Does? I did not know this. Okay.
We're getting ready to go into these last 3 episodes. Every theory I thought I had about this show has just gone
out the window.
Yep. No idea.
We're terrible at these theories. These people, Lucasfilm. I'm convinced Lucasfilm listens to our theories and goes, "No."
I am
next.
Dying, absolutely, just dying to know what has happened. Earlier there was a comment about a lightsaber or a fight between a Wookiee and Torben. I believe, I think Torben's eye came at the hands of Kelnaka, and I think a fight between 2 Jedi, a severe fight between 2 Jedi, something really, really catastrophic, could be enough to send Torben into the Barash Vow. So I think whatever happened between him and Torben, or him and Kelnaka, was enough for Torben to take the Barash Vow. That's issue number 1. What set off that fight? I don't know. I think it's significant that we saw not 1, but 2 instances of the eyes going black. So the first moment that the eyes went black on 2 different characters was in a flashback or a dream sequence that May, or that Osha had of May, of child May. Her eyes went totally black. The second was when Torben was affected by the witches, his eyes also went black. So I'm wondering if maybe he was like possessed by something, and that was what provoked him to attack Kelnaka and get his eye all scratched up and have to take the Barash Vow. But the question remains, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, what spurned that on?
I don't think May did that much damage to the witches.
Mm-hmm.
I think something else, like, because we see, Mother Anastasia and so many of the coven dead, and it's like, okay, well, they didn't burn to death. And
yeah, exactly.
Where's Mother Coral?
So we're not done with them. I for so many reasons, we're not done with them. They spent a lot of time building up the marketing around Mother Anastasia, and to only have her in 1 episode, I feel like is suspicious.
Well, I feel the same way about, Master Indara, but that's just me.
But I also don't know that I think we're done with her, because I think there's going to be, I think of the 3 remaining episodes, at least 1 of them will be a flashback episode.
Right.
So I don't think we're done seeing any of the 4 Jedi Masters, Kelnaka, Indara, Torben, or Soul. Yeah. The other big thing that we haven't seen from the preview footage, there is absolutely a scene of Vernestra going through the woods with her light whip. I'd like to see that very much. That looked like Kofar. I think that's going to happen on Kofar, because it looked like the woods on Kofar.
Now, I have some questions. Like, we'll get to this really quick. What are name like maybe like 1 big prediction that you had leading up to where we are at, where we're at, that has already been proven wrong? What did you think was going to happen and then didn't happen?
I thought Vernestra's character was going to be much bigger. I thought she was going to end up being more in the field. I think her taking on a political role was a plot twist for me. I went into the show purposely knowing as little as possible. I didn't watch any of the trailers. No, that's not why. I watched the trailers. I didn't watch any of the extended features or any of the interviews. I specifically went in cold because I did not know or want to know what was going on. Vernestra's role in this has been a surprise.
Wow. I had a theory.
Same question.
Yes, I had the same theory as Dave. I thought Dr. Teeth, also known as the Stranger,
And the
I
Electric Mayhem.
that's what we're gonna call his helmet here, the Electric Mayhem. I really thought he was, Mother Coral, because she disappeared. We didn't see her body,
Yeah.
and she had such vengeance against the Jedi for coming to her planet and not only having her partner and all of her people die, but one of her child supposedly dies and the other one gets taken away with them. So
I felt pretty confident that Coral wasn't the Red Blade just based on her hands, because she has the tattooing all the way down her hands. And if you were like, I grabbed a couple of screen grabs of like that first moment when he holds his hand out to grab the lightsaber, and there was nothing on his hand. So I was like, that debunked Mother Coral in that role. But I know a lot of people really really believed that.
I had it up until I saw the arms, and I'm like, okay,
yeah, I was like, oh,
guy's arms.
It's got some nice arms there. Yeah, I would say if you like officially know anything, please
Ooh,
keep it to
Sherry.
yourself.
Sherry's got a prediction.
Yeah, I could. I mean, sure, I could be into that. My brain can't stop thinking about the technology.
Yeah,
and the fact that was so important to them, and they focused on it in not one scene but two scenes. So I think there's something larger at play with the witches for sure.
Mhm.
I don't like, I'm at the point where this is the happiest I've been with Star Wars ever. I mean, I'm just gonna say it, literally ever.
More so than Rebels?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, girl.
Having it all kind of come into play with the books releasing, 100 years earlier, and with the promise of there being comics kind of exploring this era, this part of the High Republic. This is the tightest storytelling I've seen in a really long time. And everything that really upset me about Rebels has been completely handled differently in the High Republic. And I feel like the tightness of the story and the way that the story group is operating is chef's kiss.
Love
It's
it.
phenomenal. This is what we need to see. So we have gone way over time, and I'm so sorry. How do we wrap up everything that has happened in 5 episodes of The Acolyte? I don't even know.
We are truly at a cliffhanger at this point in the season. We don't know if Soul is going to survive at this point. We don't know if Basil's going to get to him in time and save him. We don't know what's going to happen with Ocean on the planet.
We can talk about Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Oh my God!
Angry. Surprise!
The rage, the death threats on Wikipedia. Children, stop it! Oh my God!
What I would say is, if you're a fan of Ki-Adi-Mundi, and I don't think anybody has given this character literally any thought since that original animated Clone Wars.
No, they haven't, which is why it's insane to me that they're clutching their pearls over this. Come
on. Please read The Living Force if you are a fan and want some quality Ki-Adi-Mundi content.
It
lives in The Living Force.
About that book.
It's so stupid and wonderful. I love it so much.
Yes. Shout out to John Jackson Miller for writing that gem of a novel. It's beautiful. It's fun.
It's a wild book.
It's fun. It's exactly what you want your Star Wars books.
Yeah. David, I have so many questions, but that's what's kept me so grounded and so happy with the High Republic, is that I have so many questions. And every time I think I know what's going to happen, they delight me in such a different way. Like, it takes such a hard left turn, and I'm like, this is what I want out of a great story. So I'm thrilled. I couldn't be happier.
honestly,
I mean, I'm stressed and I want to throw up, but I'm happy.
yeah, the stress point is real in this, and I honestly, I want to know where it goes, like the mystery. It feels like WandaVision to me. Like WandaVision had that sense of mystery all the way through, and until things were resolved in the final couple episodes when you realized what was really going on, and just we're getting to
Yeah.
that point, and I wonder
We're
if
almost
they're going to
there.
be giving us a season 2, or if this is just a limited series and this is where they end it. Um, I wonder. Dave says, "I wonder if there's something more up with him. Coincidence that they just dropped his saber."
3 episodes.
3
Tuesdays become my
left.
favorite night.
Yeah,
Um,
good.
so we went long. I
Yeah,
apologize for that. I like I said, we're riding this high, and I'm so
loving it.
happy I get to talk about these things, and so happy that even though the fan base is in a
Good.
really weird place as it always is, I think
But you know
I
what?
think
We
that
don't have to answer for the fan base because
we don't.
Star Wars is for everyone,
We
and
don't.
everyone
And
has their own niche in Star Wars that they love.
yeah, and honestly, I think the fans are actually seeing that this is good actually. Really, really good actually. And it's been really fulfilling and really validating as a High Republic fan to like see that happen. And so I, as always, extend the invitation if you ever want to talk High Republic, or if you ever have questions about the High Republic, or you want
Yeah.
a reading list or the order list, or you want to dip your toes in, please by all means reach out to me. I have guided many a human through reading and enjoying the High Republic, and I would be happy to do it for you as well. Um, Otherwise, if there's any, I mean, I don't even know. We have to end this episode. So,
Yes. But
thank
yeah,
you for playing with us tonight.
yeah, having fun
Um,
discussing what's happened so far this season, and we can't wait to see what happens next. Like Tuesdays is like
the
appointment
best.
viewing, kids.
Yeah. All right,
I'll
y'all.
go nuts.
Be good. Thanks for hanging out with us for Light and Life.
And we will see
And
you guys. Sorry, we have to do a little bit of housekeeping and
oh
stuff.
God,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's okay. Jamie's shook, guys. She's shook from this episode.
Me and my gummy bears against the world over here.
Absolutely, Haribo's. Yeah. So Sherry says Leslie said she made this as a complete story, but she could do another season concentrating on another story. So that could happen. Um, Good night, Joseph and John. Um, just do some housekeeping here. Tomorrow night we have the watch along. They will be watching Acolyte episode 5. What we've discussed in this episode. Watch it. Uh, check your brain. See what like. Did you really see what you thought you saw in that episode? Yes. So watch along with Dave, Jeff, and Spencer. Friday is the Acolyte After Show with John, Bryce, and Mike. Don't miss it. It's on YouTube. It's drops at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, but it'll be there on YouTube if you want to watch when you wake up. Sunday, I believe, is the Unifying Force or the Jedi Archives. I'm sorry, Mark. Let me know. I'm sorry.
I'll just jump in because it's easier than typing.
Yeah.
5th Sunday this month, so no show.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Weird month.
Weird month. Dave says Skip is joining the guys for the watch along tomorrow. Spencer will not be there. He'll be filling in. So we got Ski Pruckle in the show. No Sunday, 5th Sunday. So get a break before we kick off in July. And then Monday is the return of Star Wars Rebels Revisited. So Mark and Jeff and I will be back visiting you on Monday nights. Getting to the finish line on our Rebels Revisited. And sad. It's been over 2 years and it's been great. So just, I don't know what to do.
You're almost done. You'll find something else to do.
Yeah, Clone Wars Revisited.
Yeah, exactly. You got plenty to
We'll be
follow.
on air forever, ladies. It's
Yeah.
they'll never let us go.
Like cockroaches.
We're prisoners. We're prisoners. But yeah, as Jamie said, thank you so much for joining us this week and having this discussion with us. And we'll catch you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. We will see you then. For Light and Life, and may the Force be with y'all. We'll see you soon.
May the Force be with you.
Bye.
Bye.